Before we continue, would you like some tea, Georgiana?
Yes, please. Mind if I help myself?
Be my guest.
Tea. Tea with a single sugar. That's enough sugar for me. One. Now let's give it a stir.
Now, back to what we were discussing. How much do you know about your former employer?
More than I'd like to. I was forced to manage some of the fronts of his despicable business. I was tasked with overseeing all the drug smuggling to London. And I fetched the profits from his shady partners. I even shook down local businesses for him.
I'm afraid that the rackets you were involved in were only a small part of Nigel Warren's business. That the rackets you were involved in were only a small part of Nigel Warren's business. His influence goes much further than the streets of London.
That makes sense. That wretch had secrets he wouldn't share with his own shadow.
Warren had a hand in schemes to extort huge corporations around the country. My company didn't elude his greedy fingers either. He demanded a hefty sum for security fees to ensure the safety of my shipments.
It's the way he operates. I've seen him extort people hundreds of times. In the end, all local businesses give in to Nigel's demands. He can be really persuasive. I remember there was an owner of a pizza place who dared to cross him. The poor man's body was found shoved inside his own oven. It wasn't a pretty sight, I'll tell you that much.
I'm fully aware of what Warren is capable of. I got a bitter taste of it when he orchestrated the murder of my staff. Last month, I suffered the consequences of my choices. The drivers who were killed were called Rob Mitchell and David Charles. Both were young and full of potential.
It was all over the news. It's so sad to see when such young men die.
The police concluded their deaths were an accident. I couldn't believe that.
When Nigel is involved, cases don't stay open for long. The police have been in his pocket for years.
Since no one would lift a finger against him, I decided to bring Warren to justice on my own. I had to hit him where it hurt most. His international money laundering network.
Weren't you worried that Nigel might retaliate?
I admit, I was concerned for the safety of the rest of my employees. But I'd never have forgiven myself for letting Rob's and David's murders go unpunished.
So, you took the law into your own hands?
I confronted the businessmen Warren was laundering money for and threatened to expose their operations.
The fact that you're still breathing is nothing short of astonishing, Mr. Navarro. You don't mess with that kind of people without consequences.
In case something happened to me, I had loyal employees who were ready to publish the evidence. I, however, was willing not to leak my findings, on one condition. Nigel Warren had to confess to murdering my employees in public. How his clientele would make that happen was left up to them.
I doubt anyone can convince Nigel to do that.
Convince him? Perhaps not. But coercing him, on the other hand.
Are you suggesting those people would have gone after Nigel's head if he'd refused?
That would have been the most logical outcome. Warren ran their entire money laundering network. He was their biggest liability. If he talked, it would be more than just their operation that would go down.
Sounds like you extorted Nigel's clients. There's no doubt he deserved it. But I would never have expected that from a respectable citizen like you.
I did what was necessary to put that murderer behind bars.
So, has Nigel confessed to murdering your drivers?
He did, last night, while you were on the plane.
Oh my! Finally, that animal will get what he deserves. I hope he rots in prison.
So do I.
Now it makes sense why he was so ticked off at the Royal Gala dinner last week.
I met Warren that night to talk about his client's demands. You should listen to your clientele, Nigel.
Look at you, Navarro. You sound like a puppy yelping. You have no place among the big dogs. So, be a good pup, and don't pick a bone with me, or I'll have 100 more of your people buried.
You don't scare me, Warren. Expect to see your name in the headlines tomorrow morning.
You think you can threaten me, boy? Me? I'll teach you some respect.
Pull yourself together, you savage.
Know your place!
Go ahead. Do it again. Let the cameras get a good shot this time.
Consider yourself lucky, Navarro. We're leaving.
After that night, I couldn't allow myself to leave you at his mercy. I pushed Warren's clientele not just to draw a confession out of him, but also to secure your immediate release. It didn't take him long to come knocking at my door. In return for my silence, he confessed and set you free.
So that's why he let me go, after so long. It was a relief when Nigel said I was officially out of the family business.
Family?